Chapter 11. Senses, Cruiser, Starkiller. Power. My head snaps up from the datapad that I am reading when I sense it. A flicker, just a flicker, of raw power. Then another flicker of the exact same thing. These flickers are too much power to exist. They should not exist at all. It was so sudden and so brief, enough to make me nervous I cannot trace it. These flickers were so sudden and disappeared just as fast, the knowledge that enough power like this exists and in so brief a moment is, to put it simply, scary. I know for a fact that power like that should not exist in the galaxy, only I can possess that amount of power. Gritting my teeth in frustration, I straighten and turn on my heel, heading for the hologram communicator between myself and Darth Sidious. I was instructed to contact him at once if anything happened that concerned me, anything at all. This obviously classifies as something that concerns me. Upon entering the room, I activate the communicator. With a flick of my wrist and go down on one knee as a sign of respect. It takes a few seconds before the image of Darth Sidious appears, cloaked as usual. For some reason I cannot help but wonder why he feels the need to wear a cloak. It's not as if anyone would dare to question the most powerful beings in the universe. Starkiller. He greets in surprise. I did not know that we were due for an update on your mission. It is not that, Lord Sidious. I say, my head bowed low. I am contacting you about a surge of power that I have felt just moments ago. He is obviously shocked. You mean to tell me that you sense a surge of power that was powerful enough to concern you, a skilled force wielder? Yes, I confirm. There were two flickers for just a moment each time, but I could sense raw power emanating from each of them. Whoever caused it is exceptionally powerful, and, I dare say, more powerful than myself. Preposterous, Sidious says. No one is more powerful than you. Which is exactly why I saw fit to contact you and tell you about what I have sensed, I continue. This does qualify as a concern, after all. It certainly does. Sidious agrees. I will look into this at once. In the meantime I trust that you will have no problems on Alderaan. None at all, Lord Sidious. I reply. Senses, Council Room, Yoda. In the middle of Master Windu's speech I frown and close my eyes, focusing on the thing that I have just sensed. Master Windu stops speaking, and it is obvious that every member of the council has seen that I am focused on something. There was a flicker, just a flicker, of something that is more than concerning. Power, and lots of it. I could sense it for just a moment, then it happens again. Another flicker. This one is accompanied with a large wave of confusion through the Force before everything vanishes once more. Master Yoda, are you alright? Master Kenobi asks. Power, I sense. I say, my eyes still closed as I try to focus on it, but something has blocked it. Much power. Power from where? Master Windu questions. Know this, I do not. I say in disappointment. Sense confusion, I did. Do you mean to say that the person who this power is coming from is confused about it? Shocked he asks. I am able to trace that much through the Force since it was unguarded. Know nothing about the power coming from them, this person does. Unsure and afraid, they are. Sense who they are, I cannot. There is silence for a moment. Meditate on this, I will. Senses, Day 9, Ahsoka Tano. This time I wake up in a fashion that is painfully loud. Wake up. Wake up. My eyes open quickly and I sit bolt upright in bed. I am also being shaken awake too, so I barely have any time to adjust to the morning light, and have to rub my eyes to see things clear. What? I ask stupidly, looking around. Ahsoka. To my horror I see that it is K and J, and they are not alone. What have you done now? I question, swinging my legs over the side of the bed and looking at the chrono. Why did you have to come here at 5 in the morning? What happened in the vents, that's why we're here. Jay says. I tense immediately. Oh, that. I say. I don't know exactly what happened in there, and it probably wouldn't if you hadn't gone and broken the water valve. Yeah, never mind that. Kay waves his hand to simulate wiping something away. Do you know what happened? Did you go and talk with anyone? I already told you why I can't, I snap. Besides, it's 5 in the morning, and you could have at least asked me about it when I'm actually awake. Why wouldn't you talk about it? It was so cool. Jay exclaims. I sigh in exasperation. It's a Sunday, can't you leave it a while? Plus, I'm ill and supposed to be resting, so you should probably go before you catch whatever it is that I have. Hey, have you ever considered that your illness is why you were able to freeze the water? Kay suggests. I didn't freeze anything. Not on purpose, but we didn't do it, and you were the only person who could have. Jay says. I open my mouth to retort when the sound of footsteps is heard from the corridor outside. Easily, I sense that it is a Jedi Master who must have heard me shout. You should probably go before you get into trouble, I suggest. They don't know that it was you who broke the water valve yet, do they? They don't, you're right. Jay says, turning to the people the twins have brought with them. Let's go. Come on. In a rush they all scramble out of my room and I sigh before laying back down on my bed. The twins have to be the stupidest, most arrogant and attention-seeking people I have ever met, but they're also my friends. I wouldn't half mind what happened in the vents if those two would just shut up about it. By now half the temple will know. The footsteps are much louder than they were before and I simply stare at the ceiling above my head, far too exhausted to try and pretend to be asleep, because any Jedi master can tell when someone is faking. The door to my room opens and Master Luminara walks in, which I find odd. I mean, obviously she's in the temple because she's Barris's mentor, but I didn't know she woke up at a time before 5 o'clock in the morning, which I will not be doing again, given the choice. Young Tano, what are you doing up at this hour? She asks gently. I got woken up by the twins and their shady friends, I tell her. Master Luminara smiles. Those two are quite a handful for whoever is responsible for them. I smirk. That's true, I agree. But I'm not responsible for them. Are they the reason you were shouting? She asks. I'm not a fan of being woken up early. Master Luminara's smile falters and she frowns. I can feel the way she is trying to sense something through the force. I can sense that you do not quite feel healthy, she says slowly. Are you feeling all right? I didn't yesterday, I inform her. But I feel better now. Just a little off, that's all. It is a Sunday, you should stay here and rest. Master Luminara suggests. I'll try to, Master. I say. But I promised a friend I'd spend the day with him. She nods slowly and it is obvious that she feels I should spend the day resting. Well, make sure that you don't overexerting yourself today. If your condition gets any worse, be sure to tell someone. I will, Master. I assure her. It takes me about 30 seconds to register the fact that she has gone, and I stifle a yawn behind my hand. Being woken at 5 o'clock in the morning is never considered to be a good thing, and the annoying thing is that it's nearly impossible to go back to sleep afterwards, when the time for you to wake up is only an hour later. My mind begins to drift and I become confused once more about what happened yesterday in the vents. The water froze just before I was about to fall into it, and most likely drown or die from something else. Then the rest of the water just went around me, as though there was something in its way. I didn't even get the slightest bit wet. This fact isn't just confusing, it's frightening. Anakin must have done it, he had to have. But with the twins and their friends trying to ask me about what happened, then it will be impossible for me to go back to his room until sometime towards the middle of the day. Slowly, I sit upright once more and stand up. There's nothing good that can come of me just laying around, and I quickly go into the fresh air to change, before coming out and picking up my datapad. If I can't do anything else, I might as well try and figure out what these puzzles mean. I take one look at the first one and groan. These puzzles are always hard for me. I don't even know what some of the words mean. Sighing, I am about to put the datapad back down when the meanings of each of the words pop into my mind. With a frown, I bring the datapad closer and read the question once more. I did not understand it a moment ago. How can I understand it now? Slowly, I click on the one that I believe is the answer, and it goes to the next question after flashing green, indicating that I answered correctly. Shaking my head slightly, I put the datapad down on the bedside table and pick up the miniature planet instead. That was just too creepy. The words and the meanings just popped into my brain out of nowhere, and I have no idea why. I attempt to distract myself. I'm meddling with the planet and adding a few more plants, but it doesn't do any good. The thought that enters my mind is that this is just another side effect of taking that nectar. These things can just be happening. That makes no sense. I am on the verge of just dropping everything and finding something else to do when the door to my room opens and I look up. Barris walks in looking curious about something. Is it true? She asks, coming to sit on the bed beside me. Everyone's saying that you froze water with the force and then made it go around you. Ahsoka, tell me it isn't true. I didn't do it, I say. Kay knocked me over and I was about to fall into the water when it just froze. Then it started to disappear and then some more water came my way and it just went around me. I didn't have anything to do with it. How could I have? But then, who did? It's obvious that someone did it, and if it wasn't you, then who was it? Barris questions. I sigh. I don't know, is all I can say. But this is just giving me one big headache, and I was sick all of yesterday, so it probably isn't a good idea for me to be stressed out. Barris shakes her head. It isn't. I got woken up when you shouted. Everyone in our clan did, but we stopped worrying when Master Luminara said she'd go and look into it. I shouted that loud. Yes, you did. Barris confirms. Do you want to get some breakfast? You look like you could use it. At 5 in the morning. It's 5:30 and breakfast started 5 minutes ago, Barris reminds me. If you're still feeling ill, then you should eat. Come on. I don't feel ill anymore, I just don't want to feel ill again, and I'm a little confused. I correct her. Barris rolls her eyes and grabs my arm gently, leading me out of the room. As much as I would prefer to stay in my room until 8 o'clock and then go to Anakin's room without being bothered, the thought. The food is slightly appealing to me. I was asleep for 22 hours yesterday, and I doubt I've eaten anything since the lunch I shared with Anakin, which was 2 days ago. There aren't many people about. But I know that any younglings that are already awake will head straight for the mess hall. It's fairly obvious that I am being herded into the mess hall by bears, because she still has a hold of my arm, knowing that if she lets go I'll stop and go back to my room. As we walk I become aware that the floors and walls are still damp, but not as wet as they were yesterday or should be today. The cleaning droids did a nice job of fixing everything, but the electronics are quite obviously fried. When we arrive at the mess hall it is obvious that someone has had to force the doors open judging by the uneven angle, and there were only a few people inside, including the twins who look guiltier than they ever have before. They both look up at me and make strange faces and glance down at their food. It looks awful, worse than anything I've ever seen before, and I know that it's because the food replicator isn't working and it was hand-cooked. GD aren't exactly good cooks. Hey, Ahsoka, you don't think you could do something about the wiring, could you? Kay asks. How could she? Ahsoka doesn't know anything about electronics, Pedro says, sitting down with his own plate of mushy food. The twins snort. She spent a whole day doing electronics with her mentor, I think she should try it. Jay informs him and all the younglings who are listening. Varys turns to me. Do you think you could, Ahsoka? It would be a great help. Yeah, and we wouldn't have to eat this. Kay pushed around his food. Whatever it is. I sigh, really not wanting to do it. I swore never to go near a plug socket again, but I can't not help them. Fine, I'll do something. The lights can't be too hard to get on. I concede. Spotting the nearest plug socket, I walk over to it and carefully pry it open using the force. Ignoring the impressed sounds behind me, they really need to get out more. I search through the soaked wires until I find the ones that I am looking for. Carefully, I attach two of the wires together and watch as they spark before connecting them together. One of the lights begins to flicker. I take out some wires and fit them in the other way around before attaching a new bunch of wires together. Suddenly, the door makes a whirring sound and closes on its own. I curse quietly. Tell me you didn't just lock us in, Jay says. I don't think so, I say slowly. It hasn't locked. Slowly, I stand up and walk towards it. The moment I come close to it, the door opens automatically and closes when I take a few steps back. I cannot help but smile. The things that Anakin taught me are actually quite useful. Whoa, the twins comment in unison. What about the lights? Pedro asks. I resist the urge to walk over to him and throttle him. Tampering with the wiring of things isn't as easy as I made it look. Sighing, I walk back over to the open plug socket and begin to meddle with the wires. Again, it takes a lot of time and effort to get just one of the lights on, and I curse the twins repeatedly in my mind for breaking the water valve and frying everything electronic, just as I am about to fix another of the lights. The door to the mess hall opens, and two GD masters walk in. The first thing they look at is the light and then straight at me. It then comes to my attention that this might be against the temple rules. I've never heard of tampering with the wiring being allowed before. What are you doing? Master Windu asks. I'm at a complete loss as to what to say. She fixed the light and the door. Kay explains. Ahsoka tampered with the wiring. Now I really feel the need to throttle someone. Talk about getting people into trouble. You fixed the damaged wiring which the droids have been working on all night, Master Plo asks. I try not to get annoyed by how little faith he has in my abilities. I did. I confirm slowly, wondering what to expect. Accidentally, I push two wires together and it sparks before all of the lights come on, along with the electrical equipment behind the counter, which means that the replicator is still working. Alright, Jay says happily. Let's get some food. I roll my eyes at the comment and place the wires back into position, whilst making sure not to disconnect any of them. By the time I have resecured the plug socket cover, everyone is at the counter getting new food. The twins are back in their seats eating happily and giving me the thumbs up, which makes me smirk. Standing, I move to join them when a hand on my shoulder stops me. It doesn't take a genius to figure out whose it is, and I turn around to look at Master Plo and Master Windu. Before you do that, Master Windu says, you could help the droids fix all of the wiring. All of it? I repeat in dismay. I've spent an entire day doing stuff with wires and datapads, and I don't mean to do it again. Isn't it a little large scale? At least think about it, Master Plo says, releasing my shoulder. But first you'll probably want to get some breakfast. Yeah, probably. I agree before turning around and giving the twins a murderous look, to which they respond with innocent ones, then going up to the counter and getting my own breakfast. When I rejoin, then I pin them with cold glares. Why did you have to go and say that? Now I'm going to have to fix every circuit in the temple because the droids are too hopeless to do it themselves. What? Don't tell us you had plans, Jay says with his mouth full. Not everyone likes to lay around all day being a slob, I retort. You still owe me after yesterday. They both look up at me with cocked eyebrows. Oh, so you're admitting that it was you? No, it wasn't. I correct myself. You owe me for saving both of your necks. They shrug their shoulders. We'll help you avoid being spotted. Just make sure you take the first corridor on the left, and your journey is as clean as Calyx around. Well, as clean as the temple used to be. I sigh and start eating, desperate to not talk to them. At the moment I don't feel like talking to anybody apart from Anakin, and I need to make sure that he was responsible for what happened in the event of. I'm going to be really confused. My gaze is kept low on my plate as everyone who enters the mess hall frowns in confusion and is then told that I did it, and they look at me in awe. I hate attention too much. If it can get people killed or change the way that people think. Barris gives me a reassuring smile and I feel slightly better. I need to ask Anakin about what happened.